It's 5 o'clock, so I guess we will start. So today's topic is how to leverage activities on college applications. And today we're going to be talking about student success stories. So today we have two student speakers. So we currently have Emma, and Thomas will be joining us in just a little bit. My name is Kala, and I'm a senior education consultant here at Harmony Plus. I'm also the manager of the Future Leader Academy, or FLA for short, as well as EATIC, or the Extracurricular Activity, Trainee, and Internship Club. So that's a little bit about me, but enough about me. Today is all about our students. So our first student speaker is Emma, and she is a senior at Homestead High School, and she will be attending UC Berkeley Haas School of Business this fall. And actually, she got accepted to a very special major called Business Administration with a concentration in global management. And this particular program only has a 1.1% acceptance rate. So Emma getting into this was a super big deal. So I'm sure you guys will want to hear all of her secrets as to how she got admitted to this really special program as a freshman, no less. She was also accepted to the University of Michigan Haas School of Business, another top 10 business school. So again, super impressive that she got in as a freshman. And then Emma has been in multiple Harmony Plus programs. I know Emma and work with her very closely because she is one of our EATIC student ambassadors. So she has been extremely helpful with getting EATIC going. She also participated in speed reading and data strategy. So she will certainly tell you more about that later and how she was able to leverage those programs on her college applications. Then our other student speaker is Thomas Chen, and he will be joining us in just a little bit. He has kind of a busy schedule today, and he's kind of working us in. So we're really, honored with whatever time that he has to come join us. So he is a senior at Milpitas High School, and he got into UC Berkeley and UCLA for the applied math major. Pretty hard to get into that major as well, but he did it. And he was also in the data strategy research program. So he'll be able to tell you guys specifics about how he was able to leverage that program as well as his other extracurriculars in order to get admitted to the top 2 University of California system schools. Okay, so here is our agenda for today. So first, I'll just kind of give you guys a rundown of the overall college applications situation this year. Then we will have a Q&A with Thomas and then Emma. Then we'll just kind of have a little summary of everything that they talked about and just go over the importance of extracurricular activities and how they're going to be even more important this year. Then I'll introduce you guys to some Harmony Plus programs that we have this summer that you might be interested in. If you're a student or parents, you might be interested in that for your student, because extracurricular activities are very important this year. And then finally, we'll have a Q&A with the audience. Okay, so just to put everything in context for what our student panelists will say today. Okay, so this college application season by the numbers. So, I'm not sure how much you guys have been following college admissions trends, but the number of applications to top tier colleges absolutely surged this year. Yeah, and we'll talk a little bit about why in just a moment. However, on the other hand, applications to lesser known schools sharply declined. So here's some numbers. The Common App. Sure, all of you guys know the Common App. Many people are applying through that. So in this past application season, there were 10% more applications submitted by 1% more students. So basically students were applying to more schools. And Harvard saw a huge increase, for instance. So Harvard saw a 42% increase in applications overall, as did many other Ivy League schools. All of them grew a lot. And I should say Ivy Plus too, many of those top universities. Schools like UCLA, so those public Ivy League schools, as we say, UCLA saw double-digit surges in applications, and many other top public universities did well, and top private schools that are not in the Ivy League. However, on the other side of things, community college enrollment dropped by 20%. So why were there some of these changes? Well, there were some pretty radical admissions changes this year, and that can explain some of the numbers that I just showed you guys on the previous slide. So as you guys know, because of COVID-19, many schools became test optional, even most of the Ivy League schools. And that's kind of an unprecedented thing, because in the past, It's like you had to take the SAT. Some of those top universities even required multiple SAT subject tests. But, because of the pandemic and the SAT getting canceled over and over again, because it wasn't safe to go attend that in person, many schools became test optional. And the UCs, as well as some other institutions, even became test blind. So just a refresher for everyone, what is the difference between these two? Well, test optional means if you have an SAT score and you're satisfied with your score, if it's a good one, you can send it to that school. So most of the Ivy League schools and other top schools were test optional, whereas test blind means that they won't even consider your score. So this year, the UCs were test blind. They were not even considering students' SAT scores. Okay, so this was a very big deal, very big change. And also the SAT itself made some changes. So a few months ago, the SAT or the College Board announced that they were going to discontinue the SAT subject tests, as well as the optional SAT writing section. Okay, so because of these admissions changes, applying for those top tier colleges, a lot of students were feeling more confident because taking the SAT or having a good score was a barrier for a lot of students. But now, without those barriers in place, a lot of students were applying to those top ones. So maybe you guys are wondering, well, people are getting vaccinated, the pandemic is winding down a bit. So what are some of the admissions trends and the forecast for the years to come? Well, for this application season, fall 2021, 2/3 of colleges are test optional or test blind. Okay, and then fall 2022. So for the next application season, actually 55% of four-year colleges have already said that they will be test optional or test blind. And there might be more that commit later. So schools haven't made announcements about that. And the UC system, I follow, this is on the UC blog, and I just got some news a few days ago that the UC system will be test blind until 2024. And then the UC will have a new assessment plan. So kind of like their own thing for 2025 onwards. At least that is their plan for now. But with everything changing, who knows what will actually happen, right? So basically, we're having a new balance in college admissions. While standardized tests like the SAT and ACT or SAT subject tests are not as important now, other things are becoming much more important. So, like a student's grades and the rigor of their coursework, a lot more important. Extracurricular activities, which we will discuss today when we hear from our student panelists, will be important. And related to that, essays, recommendation letters, interviews, and others. Okay, so you see admissions, you can kind of see how things are shifting. So when test scores are not as important, other things become much more important, like essays and activities. And similar trends with private college applications, so activities, an even bigger thing for those kinds of schools. Okay, so when tests are not as important, activities are definitely a very big deal. And related to that are like internships, research experience, and just showing things like leadership overall. Okay, so without further ado, I know you guys came here to listen to our student panelists, so I definitely want to get to them. Okay, so first, let's do a Q&A with Thomas. So Thomas, thank you so much for coming today. His profile, once again, just to remind you guys, so he was accepted to UCLA and UC Berkeley for applied math. Okay, so Thomas, can you say hello to everyone?
Hello.
Okay, so we will have a Q&A with Thomas first. So Thomas, here is your first question. So what kinds of extracurricular activities did you participate in during high school? Maybe you can also say, why you chose these activities and share a bit about your timeline and kind of the logic for doing these things.
So freshman year, I was mostly involved in sports and leadership in high school. I really was still exploring. So I did water polo, basketball, and I was my class treasurer in the ASB. And then outside of that, I also started volunteering at the Tech Museum in the Bay Area, and also volunteered for clubs that are pretty well known, like Interact. I didn't get that deeply involved in Interact later in high school, but that was just the 1 year that I was in it. And I was just exploring freshman year. And then sophomore year, I kind of stick with the same routine, except I guess I was focused more on school that year, because I took more accelerated classes as a sophomore. So I continued doing basketball, um, in the next level, and then I became captain of my water polo team as a sophomore. And outside of that, I just kept volunteering, and then I also did some tutoring for programs like Read, Write, Discover and Math Easy, if you guys have heard of them. Um, those summers I did some tutoring, and then in the summers I would also take college courses to accelerate like my GPA and stuff.
Okay, wow. So
And
it sounds
then
like you were very involved in many different things.
yeah, and then junior year, um, let's see, junior year, joined math club, and like this is like when I became a junior, I decided like I picked like kind of like what direction I wanted to go, and it would be like around kind of like math, applied math basically. And so I did math club that year. I also started my own club with my friends that year. It was like lean towards helping seniors and stuff. Um, that club, it was more small scale. And then um, besides that, I junior year I decided to quit basketball because height challenged. So I focused more on water polo. And I was captain again that year. And then this whole time, actually, starting freshman year summer, I got my first job right away, like when I was old enough, as a lifeguard. And I did that year round actually, and we taught swim lessons and stuff like that. So that continued all through high school. And then senior year, I got leadership roles as my math club treasurer, and then I rejoined the student government that I actually left freshman year, um, as the student store commissioner, and like we launched like an online web store because of the pandemic, and then stayed in. I actually qualified for Amy this year. It didn't really help on my college apps because it was already after, but qualified for Amy in math club, and yeah. And then I think now I'm actually now that the college app season is over, I'm actually working 2 jobs. But yeah, that's
Okay, wow. So you were really involved in a ton of different things. Is it
yeah,
hard for you to remember everything you did?
yeah, sometimes. Yeah. I think because I definitely didn't choose things based on like, I feel like it definitely could have been more strategic. Like, I definitely think some things I did were probably not that helpful to my college app experience or whatever, but just to enjoy and do what I wanted to do.
Okay, sure. So it seems like when you were choosing activities, you chose some purely for enjoyment, or it was like your hobby, or you wanted to
Yeah.
really help the community, and other things were more related to your major. Is that
Yeah.
correct? Okay, and now my second question for you, Thomas. So how do you get into these top universities?
I think you cut out a little for me. But my answer to these questions, I guess, so I think I also did a summer program here that was obviously after junior year, with Professor Gregory LeBlanc, and that was like data science research, and I think that really helped with my application. Um, and so that one was really major focused, and it really helped because I was applying for applied math, which is really similar. I actually am, now that I'm in Berkeley, obviously I think the route to choose is data science because it's really strong in that field. Um, so yeah, that was really helpful. It was really related to my major. And then I think math club also really did help, because like the problem solving aspect of those competitions and stuff. Um, and then outside of that, I think the main parts of activities that helped me get like into these universities was probably like leadership and commitment. Um, so like by getting like leadership roles or staying committed for all 4 years to like a certain activity like water polo, or like volunteering for all 4 years at the tech museum, and like keeping my job for that long, I think it like really shows commitment. Um, and I think that is what helped. Yeah.
Great. And I think, Thomas, I may have made a little mistake on your bio slide. So I know that you applied for the applied math
Yeah.
major at Berkeley, but you're pre-data science, correct?
Yeah.
could
So after my experience with Professor LeBlanc, obviously, I think I do have like I've taken some college courses in like programming and stuff, so I do have a little experience there. And at Berkeley, obviously data science is stronger. And so having gone into the letters and science at Berkeley, they don't admit you to a certain major, they admit you to the whole college itself. And so um, I got into the letters and science, but I applied for applied math. Um, but now that I'm there, I'll probably be doing data science and actually looking towards adding a double major in business at Haas. Yeah.
Okay, nice. And did working with Professor Greg and taking data strategy kind of inspire you to go that route?
Yeah. So it was definitely interesting because it was during quarantine and like I started my stock investing kind of journey. I was curious during the when it all like the pandemic all started. And then so I also enrolled in this research program, and then I aligned that with my interests. And me and my group, we tried to like predict stocks using like data from Twitter and stuff. And it didn't really pan out because it's pretty impossible to predict, but it was like really good experience, and it was really cool to use those tools. And yeah, I look forward to doing that more. And so that's why. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. It seems like doing of activities and programs can really help you find your passion. Can we
Yeah.
say that? Okay, great. And now my third question for you is, how did you leverage your activities and your research, everything you did on your college applications? So maybe you can
Yeah.
speak to like maybe what you wrote about in your essays and other ways.
Yeah, so for UCs, which I think my strongest application was definitely UCs. I think my private schools were a little lacking. But for UCs, I wrote one essay about the program itself and what I went through and like some of the like challenges that we overcame, and what I learned about my own personal project that me and my group did. And then I also wrote another essay about my experience with math club and math competitions. And I think um, those two essays combined provided a pretty like well-rounded um, like look into like my interests for academics. Um, and then my other two UC essays were, I think one was a personal essay, so it wasn't about my activities, but another one was about my leadership in water polo. Um, that was the answer to like prompt one, I think. Um, but that essay was also about an activity, and I think it really like showed like a more characteristic like aspect. And then outside of essays, I think on my application, some like awards and stuff would be helpful, like awards from being like a student athlete. Like if you just get like the student athlete awards at your school for having a decent GPA while playing sports, and then like um other awards like math club, like if you participate in competitions and stuff. And then yeah, and then getting awards for your leadership roles also helps when you put it on your application. And then also obviously just like the activities list itself. If you just structure it like really, if you structure it well, it should help you as well.
Sure. So it sounds like you were really your activities on your application.
Yeah.
On the UC application, were you able to fill in all 20 activities?
Yes, yeah. Well, that's because they let you put awards and stuff too. So I think I had like um I'm not sure. It was like 14 activities and then like 6 awards or something like that. But yeah, so I organized on the UC one, I organized it by like importance, uh and then I did my awards last. But I think on some other applications like Common App where they give you less space, I structured it by category. So I listed like jobs first and then volunteer experiences and then like other extracurriculars after that.
Okay, nice. So sounds like your activities really helped you on your UC application. Okay, Thomas, then my fourth question for you is, what advice do you have for students who are applying to colleges in the next application cycle?
I think it's to, well, obviously start early. But I think everyone says to start early and then they obviously push it back until the last minute. But start early, get help. I think having like an advisor, I had my own personal college advisor. I think having an advisor really helps, or having someone to for feedback, look to for feedback is good. And then besides that, I think like if you're doing it on your own, definitely have like a theme in mind for your application, and you want to like structure your application around that theme, and definitely make it like specifically towards like a theme of yours. And it's good to like combine like personal experiences with academic experiences to like build that theme.
Sure. So what would you say your theme was, and how did you use activities and other things to
Yeah.
kind of put them together?
I personally don't think my theme was that strong. So I think like my theme would have been like it would have been something like definitely a leader who was interested in using like math and like quantitative reasoning to um, you know, help others around myself. And I think that would be my theme. Um, but like I don't think I had enough activities to back that up, but it was decent.
Okay, sure. So along those lines, is there anything that you would do differently if you were going through college application season again?
Yeah. The season itself, um, definitely start my private school applications earlier, because I did my UC one really well ahead of time. Private schools, I already turned in my UCs, and private schools I felt like were really reaches for me. So I guess I didn't spend as much time on it. So in the season itself, I would probably spend more time on the Common App, or not the Common App, but like the Common App and the supplementals for each school. And then outside of the season, it would definitely be, like just knowing my path earlier in high school, but that's a different thing. Yeah.
Sure. Well, sometimes it's kind of hard to find exactly what you want to do in life at
Yeah.
such a young age, but
Yeah.
sounds like you found your passion in data science though, so that's really great.
Yeah.
Okay, and is there anything else you'd like to share about how you leveraged activities on your college applications, or any final thoughts about the application season in general?
Um, Not really. I think definitely like start now. I think now is a good time to start like making lists or whatever. And I think a good list to have is like the reach, target, and safety schools. And I think yeah, definitely start looking at that. And so test scores helped. Well, didn't help me, but kind of helped in my private school application. But I think UCs didn't look at them this year, right? But yeah, so I think definitely test scores are still a good way to look at like if a school is a match or a reach, I think, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's getting a little tricky these days with things
Yeah,
being test optional, test
yeah,
blind.
yeah. But I think they still have the ranges, and I think looking at those helped me like make my list, because they have those SAT ranges, and if you're like above the 75th percentile, that would be like a match or safety, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, good. Good way to kind of check everything and make that
Yeah.
initial list for sure. Well, thank you so much, Thomas. Really appreciate all of your insights, and I'm sure all of
Yeah,
our students and
thank you
parents
for
here, they
having
love to
me.
hear everything. Yeah, absolutely. It was a pleasure. Okay, so now let's transition to Emma. And by the way, it seems like you two will be classmates at Berkeley. Well, probably not studying the same things, but maybe you guys can see each other on campus or something because you guys are both going to go there. But anyway, Emma. So just to remind you guys a little bit about Emma's background, I know I introduced her earlier. Okay, she will be going to UC Berkeley, Haas School of Business, into that really competitive business global management program. So I'm sure you're super excited about that, right, Emma? Okay, so now we'll go through the questions. And I'll ask you pretty similar questions to what I asked Thomas, but feel free to share any other insights as well. Okay, so the first question, just kind of tell us like your extracurricular path throughout high school, kind of like the timeline, and then kind of give your rationale for choosing those activities and how it relates to your future goals.
Yeah, so in high school, I kind of entered high school knowing I wanted to study business, but at the same time, I was open to exploring. So there's a business club at my school called Future Business Leaders of America, FBLA. So that was the club I think I was most involved in. I did it from freshman year and I'm still doing it right now. And then I also started doing some volunteer clubs like CSF, California Scholarship Federation. And during my freshman and sophomore year of high school, I also did dance since that was something I was very passionate about. But I had to drop that activity during junior year since my schedule was getting more busy. And some of the other different extracurricular activities I did during my high school year. I think I did the most of them during my junior year, but I did a few research programs with a cryptocurrency company because I was interested in finance. And then I also worked on some research with a professor on a topic that I was interested in, which was diversity in the workplace. I also participated in various volunteering activities. I think I was in like 3 or 4 volunteer organizations at one point. And how I chose these activities, they were a mix of some of the some things I was passionate about and also things that were related to my major. So I had a handful of academic extracurriculars and also leisure activities. But as I got closer to kind of college application season, I would say that the academic activities took more priority over leisure activities.
Sure, that definitely makes sense. Wow, so it sounds like you were involved in a ton of different activities, just like Thomas.
Yeah.
So some things more related to academic ones and also things that you're just really interested in. Okay, so considering everything that you did, how much do you think your activities helped you get into these top universities?
Yeah, so for the UCs, because they were test blind this year, I think they mainly only looked at 2 things, which were your essays and your extracurricular activities. And then for Berkeley, they also had an interview for the program I applied to. But I would say the activities were very important since they were pretty much only looking at those 2 things other than your GPA. And so having activities that stood out and also contributed to my kind of business and social impact theme was very helpful. And then for my other applications, when I write about these activities in my essay, and then they're also on my extracurricular list, I think it kind of shapes like a full picture of my interests. So it kind of gives the admission officer a picture of what you're interested in and what you plan to do. So I feel like these activities kind of build a profile for you and make you stand out from like the rest of the pool.
Sure. Well, it sounds like you had a pretty well-developed theme of business and also you said social, like helping
Social
the community.
impact.
Yeah, social impact. Great. Okay, so maybe you can give us some more details about how specifically you leverage those activities on your college applications.
Yeah, so I wrote a lot about in addition to the extracurricular list where they have you list out what you've done in the past 3 years of high school since you're applying your senior year. I also wrote a lot about my activities in my essays. So for example, the UC, they have you pick 4 of the 8 prompts. So I talked about some of the research activities I did in the prompt that said like, describe how you took advantage of a significant educational opportunity. I also mentioned about the data strategy program I was in the think about an academic subject that inspires you, because I talked about how data science was kind of like the intersection of business and technology. So I was able to include that program in my essay. In my other essays, like what have you done to make your school or community a better place? I think that is a great place to put your volunteer activities, since service is kind of about improving the community. And then they also have like an essay that says beyond what has already been shared in your application, like what else makes you stand out as a strong candidate. If you've done like some sort of exceptional extracurricular, you can definitely put that there. For the University of Michigan, they required me to send in a portfolio of something that I was really, of what they called an artifact, something that I was really proud of that I did for the past 4 years. So I've been really involved in this volunteer group since 8th grade, and through that group, I teach students in rural China. So through Zoom, so I give them like bi-weekly lessons on English, and I sent in for my portfolio, I sent in like a PowerPoint slide for one of the lessons I did, and then I also wrote like a 250-word essay about that artifact and its significance. And so I was also able to use it in the supplemental materials that schools ask for. And if you build a really good relationship with the supervisor for your extracurricular activity, you can also ask for a recommendation letter, since some schools look at a recommendation letter outside of your teachers. So for my outside recommender, I had a recommendation letter from the former Stanford professor that I did research with. And I also had a recommendation letter from the CEO of that crypto startup that I worked with.
Oh, so it sounds like a lot of the activities you did were really able to help you in many different ways on your applications, from essays to recommendation letters to your portfolio. Okay, and now we'd love to hear some advice that you might have for students who are applying to colleges in the next application season.
Yeah, like Thomas said, I think it's really important to start early. A lot of us plan ahead for a very long time, but we find ourselves rushing at the last minute. I know that for me, this year when applying to the UCs, like so many people were trying to submit last minute, the application actually crashed. And fortunately, they extended the deadline, but sometimes colleges don't do that. And when there's so many people submitting on the Common App, it crashes. So do not wait till the last minute. Another piece of advice I have is definitely try to focus on your extracurriculars and essays, since those are things that especially the essays, since those are things you have within your control right now. You don't get to control what your recommender writes in their recommendation. Your GPA is pretty much fixed at that time. So I would say definitely focus on your essays and extracurricular activities. I applied to 22 schools. So if you're planning to apply to a lot of schools, I would say you should stagger your application so that you're not applying to like 20 schools all at once. For me, I had early decision and early action. So I applied to 7 schools early in November 1st and November 15th. And then in December, early December, late November, I did all my UC applications and schools that had a December 1st scholarship deadline. And then in early January, I did all of my regular decision applications. So it was very helpful to have it staggered like that. So I wouldn't feel very rushed in writing my essays, and I would also have time to plan things out. And finally, my last piece of advice is for the students who are applying early. If you get rejected by a school early, it's very important that you move on from rejection. I was actually rejected from my dream school, which was NYU, and it would being able to rebound from that rejection and move on and focus on your regular decision applications is very important, since you still have more things that are due, and it's important to not dwell on your rejection and focus on what you have ahead of you.
Thanks for sharing that, Emma. Definitely words to the wise, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, I remember in our previous conversations, and also you just mentioned this, how you kind of like staggered your applications. And I think this kind of ties in with what a parent asked about your coursework in your junior year. So maybe you can just kind of talk about like how you managed your time. And I'm sure you took like a ton of like AP courses and had just really rigorous schedule in your junior year. So maybe you can talk a little bit about how you balanced academics and activities.
Yeah, so for the school I went to, it's a large public school in Cupertino. They kind of have this policy where it's really hard to take AP classes your freshman and sophomore year. So I didn't take any AP classes freshman and sophomore year, so I started taking them junior year. In junior year, I took 6 classes, which was pretty manageable because I took 7 classes sophomore year, so I was taking fewer classes junior year. I did AP US History, AP Calculus BC, AP Biology, and then I did Accounting 1 since I was interested in accounting, since it was related to my business major. I did American Literature Honors, even though that was an honors class, because we don't have AP English Language. That class did prepare me for the AP English Language test. And then I also did French for honors. Yeah. And to balance my coursework and extracurriculars, I think for that was the year I had to drop dance, which I had been doing since 4th grade. So dance was one of my greatest passions, except I had to kind of pick and choose things because I couldn't do everything. So that, because I did like 7 hours of dance a week, quitting dance gave me like a lot more time. At the same time, I also try to like finish all my assignments, and I wasn't too heavily involved in like extracurriculars. Like I wouldn't attend every single club meeting like I used to.
Okay, so it sounds like you definitely had to make some choices when you were managing your time and activities and just juggling everything from a parent. So, okay, someone asked what your dream college was. Okay, so the dream college was NYU, New York University, right?
Yeah.
Wow, so NYU rejected you, but you got into the Haas School of Business at Berkeley for such a competitive major. Yeah, admissions is always interesting, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and then we had another parent application results in addition to Berkeley. So I know Michigan. Any other notable ones you'd like to share?
Yeah, I got into pre-accounting and economics for UC Santa Barbara. And then I think I mostly applied to schools with undergrad business programs. So let me think. A few other UCs, so like San Diego. Yeah.
Okay, nice. So quite a few acceptances to good universities. And okay, I'll also ask the same question that I asked Thomas before. So if you had to do it all again, what would you do differently, if anything?
I think, one really important thing is to build a good relationship with your teachers and your school counselor. So since I go to a very large public school, 2,400 students, and we have 4 guidance counselors. So you have a counselor to student ratio of 600 to 1. So because the ratio is so big, it's hard for your guidance counselor to get to know you very well, to write a good personal recommendation letter for you. And so it's important to start building that relationship very early, like freshman year. And for your recommendation letters, you typically ask your junior year teachers. So it would be really important to participate actively in class, go to office hours, talk to your teachers so your teachers can know you well, and they can write well about you in your in their recommendation letter. Yeah. And I would also advise starting early, like early as in maybe July or even August, because once you have once school starts, it's a lot more, you get a lot more busier trying to do like school and college apps at the same time.
Yeah, that's all really good advice. Yeah, a lot of students have trouble with the recommendation letter part. They're just not really thinking about that until the last minute when it's almost too late. So great to be thinking about that. Okay, and then we have a few other questions. I think we can maybe just go over them since we're on the topic. So yeah, okay. Unfortunately, Thomas isn't here anymore. He needed to go to another commitment, but we can still ask Emma this. So how did you find your research opportunities?
Yeah, so for the research opportunities, how I found mine were my mom actually, she had a family friend, and he was able to kind of connect me with certain people that I could do research with. And sometimes I had to like reach out to people. I know there are people who kind of cold email professors for opportunities. And as an EITC ambassador, I know that EITC has a spreadsheet with a list full of opportunities that you can refer to and like sign up for the ones that you're interested in.
Yeah, absolutely. So quite a few different methods, including EATIC or activity. Okay. And then one parent just wants to be reminded about the theme of your application. So that was business and social impact, correct?
Yeah, so kind of seeing how I can use business to lead social change.
Okay. How long did it take you to complete your essays is another question.
Oh, so you write 2 different types of essays. The main essay you write is called the Common App essay, and that is the one that gets sent to every single school. It doesn't apply for the UCs because they have their own separate application. And then for other schools, you have supplemental essays that are school specific. So those essays can be like, why do you want to go to this school or study this major at this school? And that kind of depended on how many the school was asking for. Like University of Michigan asked me for 4 essays on top of and then the Haas School of Business asked me for another essay on the artifacts and for me to write a business case discussion. And then the Common App essay, I think that was the one you should spend your most time on. I wrote 6 drafts of that. It took I started during July, August, so it took several months to get that polished. And depending on how many drafts for my dream school, I actually did like 12 drafts. So it took a very long time. Definitely like 10-ish hours for that. And then I spent the most of my time on my essays, definitely for my applications. And for the Common App essay, I was actually able to break that down into 2 essays for my UC application. So that did save some time. I think the reason why it takes a lot of time to complete the school supplemental essays is because you have to do a lot of research into the school, and you also have to make them very specific to the school. So if you can't just like recycle your essays, like you can't just for like the Y school essay, you cannot just change the name of the school and then reuse that essay again and again. You have to show like school specifics. like you can't be very general saying, oh, it has like a good club that I like. So that was the reason why it takes very long. And that is also why I think the essay is the most important, because that's where the admissions officers get to know you on a personal level. It's kind of like being able to hear you talk.
Essays are really like the window to who you are.
Yeah, I would say I spent like 6 months on the essays. Yeah, for all 22 schools.
Okay, so that's what it takes to apply to 22 schools and get accepted to such a selective program at Berkeley, at the Haas School of Business.
Mhm.
Okay. Well, Emma, thank you so much for sharing all that. Do you have any final thoughts about your college application experience before we move on?
I think this was definitely a great learning experience. You do a lot of self-reflection, asking yourself a lot of questions that you don't normally have time to ask. At the same time, it's also a great opportunity for you to find like what you're passionate in. Since some people go in undeclared, some people go in a with an intended major, and it's also a time for you to definitely practice time management, since for me, I wrote like around 50-ish or 50 essays, or like 50 drafts of essays for all the schools I applied to. So including like the scholarship essays. So it was definitely kind of difficult for me to balance like school and on top of like all the applications that I had to do.
Sure, definitely a balancing act. Well,
Mhm.
thank you so much for sharing all of that, Emma. I have a few more slides to go through now, but then after that, then we can open up for more Q&A, because I'm sure more parents and students have questions. So, okay, just a little summary of how important extracurricular activities are these days in college admissions, and even more so during and post-COVID. Okay, so it's not just about writing a resume or writing your activity list, right? It's also about like really talking about those things in your essays, and then recommenders can even write things in their letters and so on. So as Emma just said, essays really show who you are, can provide more details about your activities. Activities can really show what you've done, the breadth and depth. They can also demonstrate a lot of great qualities about you. So Emma and Thomas both really spoke to how they were able to show, leadership, responsibility, and impact, especially in Emma's case. So there are quite a few different types of activities, as you heard from both Thomas and Emma, a wide range of things. So I did this in a pyramid because as we go up, those tend to get a little more impressive, like generally speaking. Of course, if you did some community service and you were also a leader in that, or if it, was on a very large scale affecting hundreds or even thousands of people, well, of course, that would go a lot higher. But generally, this is kind of how admissions officers view different types of activities. Of course, you need to combine that with the scope and impact. So you need to think about how many people you're really impacting, or how many people you're working with. So is it just a school thing? Is it within your city and community? Is it at the state or regional level, or even national or international? Okay, so even if you're doing something that might be a little bit lower on the list, like sports or music, but then you're at like a national or international level, like you're winning awards there, well, of course, that's super, super impressive. So that's kind of how these different areas work together and how admissions officers would see those. Okay, so then just kind of a checklist when you're considering your extracurricular opportunities. So two really big things. At first, uniqueness and relevance. How are you going to stand out among those, tens of thousands of applicants, or in UCLA's case, over 100,000 applicants, right? What's going to really make you special? Then, as we just discussed, the impact and the scale. Okay, so it's great, like anything is great. I mean, even if you just impacted one person, better than nothing, of course. But if you impacted 100 people versus just 10, well, there's a difference there, so try to really scale up whatever you're doing. Then what kind of skills did you learn? Don't be shy to say that. you're going to college to learn. So colleges want to see that you love learning, love upskilling, we can say. Did you take on a lot of responsibilities and were you a leader? So colleges want to educate the next generation of leaders. Do you have potential in that area? So those are some things to consider. Now let's talk a bit about how Harmony Plus can help. Just like how, data strategy, EATIC, speed reading, and many other programs help students like Emma and Thomas and many more. Okay, so we really cover a lot of different areas. So, our future planning and our programs can help with GPA and academic performance. We can also help with planning and tutoring for the SAT and ACT, as well as AP exams. Of course, many of our programs provide extracurricular activity, research, and leadership opportunities, and I'll get into that more in just a moment. Also, our future planning services and our college essay boot camps can help with college essays. We can also help with recommendations. So many of our professors will write recommendation letters for our top students. And of course, we have interview training as well. So let's just go into detail about some of the programs. Okay, so the first one I have here, just because Emma is our student ambassador for EATIC, so a little bit about it. In this club, we provide quite a few different activities that students can do. So this can be all the way from volunteer activities to internships with different types of organizations that Harmony Plus has partnerships with. So we have quite a few exclusive opportunities that our members can do. And of course, this can help your college applications, just like Emma and Thomas talked about today. We also have many different types of workshops. So we've had like a resume workshop in the past. In April, we just had a LinkedIn workshop, which was super popular. And this summer, we're going to talk about creating a personal website, editing a personal video, and things like that. And when you're accumulating all these volunteer hours, which many of our EATIC activities are volunteer, so then you can have a chance to receive the President's Volunteer Service Award. So Harmony Plus is able to certify hours for students once students attain a certain number of hours. Then if you really want to work on your leadership abilities, and also if you're interested in business and leadership in general, we have the Future Leader Academy. Some of the takeaways of this, you can co-author a journal article about leadership. You can learn from a faculty member, actually from the Haas School of Business at the University of Michigan. So their school, Emma was accepted to. And in this program, students can complete a leadership portfolio that they can share the link of on their college applications. So then colleges can really see like what the students were doing in the community, as well as the students writing, any videos that they created. So we have all sorts of activities like that in FLA. We have many different executive level or MBA level activities that are tailored for high school students. Students can also receive a recommendation letter, gain leadership skills that they can use at school and college and also in their future career. And students can also earn a certificate of completion signed by the professor. So we have a few different modules of FLA this summer. Okay, so Discovering the Leader in You is an individual level leadership one, as is the Individual Leadership Practice Series, and then Collaborative Leadership, the Wisdom of Teams. This one really focuses on team leadership. So students can choose one, two, or do all of them this summer. Then if you want to work on your college essay or start your college application. So we have the College Essay Bootcamp and the College Application Preparation Bootcamp. And I will actually be teaching those. So if you want to work more with me, sign up for those. Okay, and then here is the whole list of our future planning summer programs. So I just mentioned most of them. Definitely scan this here for more information or if you want to sign up. Okay, so then we mentioned data strategy a lot, right? Because Emma and Thomas both did data strategy. So as you guys heard, this is a program where you can really learn a lot about, data science, also get some of that business knowledge as well as work with Professor Greg, who is from the UC Berkeley Haas School of Business, where Emma will be going in the fall. So if you guys would like more information about that, definitely feel free to contact us. Then we have some other research programs as well. So Kaggle is a data science competition. And then we also have a machine learning summer research program. Okay, so if you're interested in any of these research programs, definitely contact us. And as you saw, doing research is a really big deal on your college application, you know, as we learned from the examples from Emma and Thomas. So definitely check these out. We also have some of our Business Academy summer programs. Okay, so we have the Future Entrepreneur Challenge, presentation skills, and then 2 phases of UX design. So here's the whole schedule for the Business Academy summer programs. These are all really great extracurriculars to do depending on what you're interested in. Then we also have some reading and writing summer programs if you would like to do some academic enhancement, or some of these actually help you submit your writing to certain competitions where you could win an award, which also would look, you know, great on your resume for colleges. So a lot of our different programs can certainly help with that. Then we also have future planning. So future planning helps students with their college applications. So, you know, after students do all those programs and research and extracurricular activities, how do you translate that into making a standout application? Well, that's where future planning comes into play. So we have quite a few different services. So we help with college applications. Also before that, private school, like private K-12 applications for younger students. We can also help with transfer applications, grad school, also like one-on-one essay editing and interview training. So basically for students who are a bit younger, you know, before the application season, so what we do, well, in a nutshell, is we help students build a personalized competitive application profile. So, you know, Emma and Thomas were talking about those themes, right? So that's really where we're like developing those themes and helping students figure out like, you know, those big questions. What do I really want to do in life? So we give students some direction in this time. So we usually meet, we have 10 meetings a year. We cover many different things from academics to test planning to activities and more. Then when students are in their application season, whether they're applying for undergrad, transfer, or grad school, we really want to help students package and present themselves in the best possible light to colleges. So this is more, you know, school-based, how many schools they're applying to. Meetings are kind of flexible. We don't have like a set number that we do. Then we really cover many different bases here, from application profile strategy to selecting majors in colleges, all the way to helping with essays and choosing the colleges after you get the offers. Then we also do one-on-one essay editing and interview training, and also video supplement support if you need to create a video for some of your applications. So a few schools are making that optional these days, and maybe in the future with fewer standardized tests, that'll even become a requirement. So we can also help with these areas. And no matter what we do, we always like to create nicely documented written plans for students. So then they have their roadmap every step of the way, just like this example here. Okay, so that's about our services. And then coming up next week, if you want to learn more about how to get started, you can have great admissions results like Emma and Thomas. Come to our webinar on Saturday, May 22nd at 5 p.m., just like this, about how to prepare for the upcoming college application season. So we'll just kind of cover the basics of how to get started with everything. So then you can scan this QR code, and then that'll take you directly to the sign up page. Okay, so I talked quite a bit about all of our different programs. I know that we have been doing this for about an hour, so perhaps, you know, we can just answer a few questions here, if that's okay with you, Emma, if you still have a few minutes. Is that all right?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, sounds good. So let me look at the chat here. I see some people are asking questions. So one question is specifically about data strategy. So Emma, perhaps you can answer this. So what was the output after you finish the data strategy research program? What kinds of tangible things that you have to share?
Yeah, so the data strategy research program, part of that involved a group project where you kind of research about the write about the applications of data science and like the real world applications. So for me, I think not only was I able to learn about data science through that camp, it also involved a lot of collaboration and teamwork skills. So as the group leader, I was also able to kind of find ways to lead my team and learn how to communicate with people since we aren't able to meet up virtually. And I also learned more about like how like the importance and also the applications of data science. So it was kind of like learning about another field of interest.
Sure. So sounds like there are quite a few ways from that. Okay. And then someone else had another question. Science. So well, this one is just kind of about the difference between Kaggle and the data strategy. Okay, so I guess I can probably answer this a little bit. Okay, so Kaggle is preparing students for the specific Kaggle competition. And students really will like learn like a lot of the data science skills in that, so that'll really like be the main focus. Data strategy is perhaps a little more interdisciplinary, we can say. So you're really learning the applications of data. So would you kind of agree with that, Emma? Like really like applying data?
Yeah, like we see how like we study how companies like make money off of data, or like we talk about how it relates to business and like technology and math and other fields.
Sure. So really applicable to many areas, it sounds like. Very practical. Okay. And then another question, and perhaps this AP one is something that I could answer. Okay, so this one is: a student self-studies an AP course that is offered or that is not offered by the school. So then no credit is earned for that AP course. So the question here is, if the student takes the AP exam for this course and earns a score of 5, is there any problem? No, I mean, that's great. You know, any students can be taking it. It's really nice if you can take it at school and also have that course on your transcript, but now colleges will still be really impressed that you took that and that you studied by yourself and were able to get such a high score on that AP exam. So you can certainly add that to your college application. Yeah.
Yeah. I actually had this kind of experience. Like for me, my school, the course is called American Literature Honors. We don't have the the AP English language course. So we take the honors class. And then I took the American English language test and I got a 5 on that. And I know some colleges don't look at your AP scores, but I know that once you do get into college, you can still get like college credit for it. Like you can test out of certain requirements.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely got a lot of credit for AP courses when I went to college, so that was really nice. I'm sure you might too, right, Emma? Get some college credit from those.
Yeah.
Okay, let me see what else we have. I think we answered quite a few of the questions that were raised before the webinar. Okay, so another parent, Emma, was just wondering about your coursework in your senior year. So if you can also share a little bit about that, as well as how you balance that with your activities and also doing college applications.
Yeah. So I took courses over the summer to fulfill like graduation requirements, and also since I also took like courses that our school didn't offer, like I took a class on project management. And so for my senior year, I actually only took 5 courses, 4 APs and 1 regular course. The regular course I took was accounting 2, since I took accounting 1 junior year and I was still interested in taking another business course at my school. And then I took, I'm taking AP English Literature, Economics, and AP US Gov, AP Statistics, and AP Physics. Yeah.
Oh, so quite a few APs. So quite a few questions. Any last questions from audience members? Otherwise, I know we're already a little over time, so then we might want to think about wrapping this up. Okay, so if not, I guess we can do a little closing. Okay, so first of all, Emma, thank you so much. And it was also great to have Thomas here, but you guys both shared so many insights, and I'm sure the audience members really enjoyed hearing like very specific examples of students who, just got their results and had really, really good results like you, especially getting into the global management program at UC Berkeley Haas School of Business. That's great. Thank you so much. And then also thank you to the audience members for attending today's webinar. So, definitely get in touch with us, especially if you want to sign up for some programs or like the future planning services. Contact us on WeChat, scan the QR code. Or, if you just kind of want to stay up to date with everything, definitely follow us on your preferred social media networks. So thank you so much, everyone. Really